into the final game. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, look, this game really shows who was dominant in this contest. Yeah, 5 tries to 1, 4 out of 5 to 0 out of 1 for the Dogs.
I am still here. I'm just fixing my camera.
Oh, look, I thought it was just me on to defend for myself, but it is the Baxter show at the moment. 1 for 1 for the Parramatta Eels, nothing from the Dogs, 70% to 68%. Completion rate with 13 until 11 for the Parramatta Eels. So Parramatta Eels winning everything on screen. I thought the Dogs would show up a little bit more, even with the kick out news of him being out. I thought it'd be more for Reed Mahoney against his old squad. This is really like this game for the Dogs. It looked like 5 steps forward, 100 steps back. This was like the Dogs of old when they had all these problems with the board and and their salary cap was out of whack, so they had to play New South Wales juniors. So they're the most injury prone squad on paper at the moment. Like if you look at their injury list right now, you got Braden Birds with an ankle injury. You got Famau Brown, who's got an elbow. Chris Patolo, knee. Franklin Pele, arm. Josh Adokar, ankle. Jake Alaviro, knee. Bailey Bondo, Odo, ACL. Villamil Kiko, pec. Then Luke Thompson in the foot and Jacob Krabs, the knee. So, there's 8, 9, 10 players already out that they're missing that they could have added to this squad. And with those players on the park, I reckon they could have done a pretty impressive job to score more than 4 points. Panthers, Eels running out a pretty good squad. Just another training day for them. It felt like we're scoring that many tries, uncontested. A few injuries as on screen come out of this. 2 knees for Jake Abalura and Jacob Carraz. Josh Hodgson with the illness. I think you got more to touch on with that. But Dalian points on screen. 6 points for the RCG, 4 points to Clint Gustafson, and 1 point for Will Prevacini and Mitch Moses. I think all 4 players played a big part in how the team went. So, congrats on them. And what did you think about this game?
I'll be honest, I was quite exhausted after that last game that I kind of got into this game, and it was one of those ones where I think we all expected Parramatta to get the win, and the last 2 days, quite funny, the last 2 games, I gave you my predictions. I reversed them. If I would have stayed how I had them, I would have got the margin and the pick perfectly. But by reversing them, I only got 1 point from each. So I think initially I thought, okay, the Eels are going to win this game. They're going to dominate. And when I thought about it, they've still got Matt Burton at can lead. They've still got the what's his name? What's the Josh Reynolds on the bench who can come on and change the game. I think the most concerning thing for me was Jacob Carraz goes down, Averillo go down, and I think it was Averillo that finished out the first half when you had Burton that can go into that center position to cover him, and you could put Matt Burton in the number 6 and 7 role, but instead you left an injured player out there. So yes, I'm not taking out any accounts they are copying injuries, but I kind of question the notion as to why we're keeping players that are injured out there when we've already got 10, 15 injuries on the sideline. We can't risk him being out now. What's he? Carraz, MCL, Averillo gone for scans. He might be out for 5 weeks now when the initial injury might have been a week if he pulled the sub when you originally happened. So I think, yes, they've got injuries. Yes, they're also shooting themselves in the foot. But from all accounts, this is a game that Parramatta showed up. They dominated. Start to finish. We've seen, the Bulldogs have signed some great players, but when you're losing probably their biggest signing in recent years in Adokar, then you're losing Kikau, you're losing Jacob Carraz, who's been unreal. Now we're starting to doubt their depth again. And this is what we're saying about the Dolphins. They might not have the big star players, But maybe are we starting to see that they've kind of spread their salary cap a little bit more and they're in a better situation than the Bulldogs, who have these 4 or 5 or 6 really big names, and the rest kind of, like you said, are New South Wales Cup-based players when there's injuries. So a lot of questions for the Bulldogs.
They're the first team this year to look to the NRL for salary cap and squad some some help because they've got so many injuries. They I think they couldn't afford.
You got to remember. You go back 5 weeks ago, and you had, was it the Knights that had 10 players out, the Roosters that had 9 players out?
Yeah, it was there. It was the Knights were looking with a second team, and then Bulldogs again before that. But maybe, and I'll put it to you, maybe should we look for a top 40? Instead of a top 30, I'd have a top 40 squad. That way, you've got enough to cover 2 teams on the park with subs and an 18th man jersey with some leftover. A top 40 instead of a top 30. That way, if you do get injured like this, as we say, like they've lost 10, if they're top 30, they've got 30 players left to go instead of having 20 players now. Yes, they only need 18, but you need to name 22.
Yeah, I'll speak to this, Baxter, as a Roosters perspective. Now, I know on our New South Wales Cup side we have Dylan Napa. Okay, maybe it's for every 3 injuries you get, instead of being able to introduce these players from New South Cup in round 10, for every 3 injuries you can bring 1 player in from your New South Wales Cup. Maybe that's what you do. But as soon as you get that player back, that player goes back down to where he goes until round 10 when you can use him. So maybe that's the option around it.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I like the top 40. That way they're.
If you go top 40, you've now got to increase the salary cap because they need more money.
True. Oh, no, not saying. Well, your top 30 has to be a part of your salary cap, but your top 40 can be a part of your squad where you can use them at any given point in your time. Like, you know, at the moment you got Agnes Crichton, who played New South Wales Cup on the weekend, who played for 80 minutes. So congratulations to him. You know, you could have bring him in for a game. You know, back down to New South Wales Cup you go. You know, he doesn't have to be a part of the salary cap, but then you could be a part of the squad. So if you do have injuries and you are on Lewisham trips, you can reach into your New South Wales squad and bring them up and play them instead of looking for, you know, to the NRL and going, oh, please help us. Maybe that's one way of doing it. It's for the NRL to decide and work out, but that's where I think maybe they should go. Maybe with your help, like with your idea as well. Maybe they should do that as well. We'll just have to wait and see about it.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. Obviously, we are only 7 rounds in. Like, when we get to, say, round 15, maybe that's the big one where we go, shit, now some clubs are down to 17 players and they can't even field 18, and that's when the NRL acts. But from what we've seen from all accounts, with all these crackdowns, with all these rules that just come in from the NRL, that if there is going to be a massive issue, they're probably going to act and something's going to change. So I think both our ideas do have a valid. I mean, the 40 people, if you can keep them outside the salary cap, brilliant. Job done, fixed. Whereas I think that also benefits the teams like up the top where you're now going to Penrith, you can have an extra 10 players. And you look at Penrith, their juniors, that's quite scary if you give them another 10 players compared to giving the Warriors 10 of their junior players. So I think the NRL does have to have a look in it, but it could go either way. But Baxter, we are going to wrap it up there. We'll finish with one question. And I guess it comes down to what we've been seeing. I think there was 10 sin bins by round 7, if not less. We're now sitting at 45. Is there too many sin bins in our game, or are you all for them if that's what it's meant to be?
Mate, if you are doing the wrong thing, you deserve some time on the sideline in the bin. As I said, the game wants to stamp out some tackles and some things that are in the game. So if you're going to do it, well, then you're going to sit on the sideline.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, Baxter, if you're not following us or you're not liking us, you're doing the wrong thing. So if they're not following us, they're not liking to us, they can add for that number, because where are they going if they're not doing it?
They're going for 10, mate.
They're going for 10. Baxter, thank you for joining me. It has been the Round 7 review show. We'll be back tomorrow or the next day with Team List. But, mate, rest up, get well, and make sure you're there for recording this week because it was definitely a pain trying to do it by myself. Peace.
See you then.